You're now watching this AFC South show on Curtis Podcast Network. Hosted by Blake Bellamy, Isaiah Michelli, and Curtis Brown. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this AFC South show, episode 61. I'm your host, Curtis Brown, and Blake couldn't be with us this week, but we still got Isaiah and Aaron back with us. So we'll have a full complement of talking heads to, fill the void after this rough week 4 in the AFC South. We're not going to dilly-dally around, and let's just go ahead and dive right into it. Aaron, how'd you feel about today's game?
Wow. I really have to say, as good as week 3 was for the AFC South, week 4 was a complete 180, just a really a terrible day. Colts, I was at the game today, and this team just couldn't have started any slower than what they did today. The Colts, that is, it just went from bad to worse in that first half. It's so hard to come back from a 24-3 deficit, no matter what team you are, unless you're, say, the Bills or the Chiefs that have high-powered offenses. But to fall down by 3 touchdowns against a division rival, and then have an offense that's simply been sputtering throughout this first 4 weeks of the season, really just an absolute nightmare. Matt Ryan today, 27 of 37, 356 through the air, but it was just simply his numbers are that of, I guess, for lack of a better term, what you'd call a pathological liar. He did not have a good game. He's throwing behind the line at different times. The only time that he was really solid was when his putrid offensive line actually gave him time to throw. It was so bad throughout the day that Danny Pinter actually was benched, and Will Fries, who I'm bigger than Will Fries, is out there playing on the offensive line. It was just not a good day. And then to add insult to injury, Jonathan Taylor it goes out injured and can't complete the game. The Colts actually only netted 38 yards on the ground today. And for some reason, Frank Reich, every time you can predict that he's going to go on first down, Jonathan Taylor right up the gut, and it wasn't working. And we're talking about a Titans team that came into this game ranked last in the league on defense or rushing defense. So not a good game. And interestingly enough, I actually looked over to a guy sitting next to me throughout the game and said that Derrick Henry, he had already reached 100 yards before the first half was over. And I said, why don't you throw 8 people in the box? Ryan Tannehill, make him beat you. Ryan Tannehill finished 17 of 21 for only 137 yards. It's not going to win you a lot of ball games, but unfortunately the Colts were allowing this secondary to hang back. There were times where they were 7 to 10 yards off the ball, and Ryan Tannehill was able to check down, complete passes, and then he let Derrick Henry do all the running, and it was just a complete recipe for disaster. It doesn't matter if the Colts held them scoreless in the second half or not. They were simply way too far back by the time they actually were able to get any offensive production going. And what I actually had said earlier in the week, that the Colts were going to come in here and win this game, can prove that I'm obviously completely clueless on what Colts team is going to show up. So those are the thoughts. Unfortunately, the Colts have a lot of work to do, and they've got a short week this week. They're going into Denver Thursday night, and this schedule just doesn't get any easier, because right after that game, they've got the Jacksonville Jaguars coming in, which I never thought I would say this. Sorry, Isaiah. Never thought I would say that the Jags were going to come in here and completely throttle the Colts, but it's it's looking more and more that way.
Yeah, I watched the game when, so I get it here in Tennessee. So I watched the game, and I think he had 14 rushes for 99 yards. So, like, basically 100. I have solidified opinions now about the Titans. I have a lot of questions about the Colts. Like, I think there are things that they could improve or protections that they need to, like, I don't know, develop better or something. I don't know. Matt Ryan, oh God. Matt Ryan just looks like he's playing old and scared a little bit. And it's not paying off for him at all. It's really kind of putting the team in some Dutch. But the Titans specifically, they are a one. You're going to get one half of performance out of the Titans. It's either going to be the first or the second half, and it might even be just whittled down to a quarter. I'm pretty sure they had most of those points in one quarter, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but you can't win a lot of games like that. It's not a sustainable model to follow, and yet they've won 2 in a row basically in the same fashion, scoring the same total of points, and their defense has just been able to hold on. I don't know. I have a lot of doubt for the proverbial top 2 in the league, right? Or not the league, the division right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and a lot of credit to the Titans defense. I mean, Danico Autry came to play today. He caused 2 sacks. He was solid. I mean, just their defense pressured Matt Ryan all day, and in my personal opinion, the Colts offensive line, especially considering they're the highest paid offensive line in the NFL, and I personally believe they have broken Matt Ryan. They have him scared to death back there. It's interesting when you watch the play develop from up high, you see that Matt Ryan, when he has time, he can deliver the ball. He can make plays. When that pocket collapses and he has no time, he gets rattled. He makes mistakes, and that's where he's fumbling. He's throwing the ball behind the line. He's throwing the ball short. It's simply they're not giving him enough time. And if this offensive line can't protect, it is going to be a long 18 weeks for this Colts team. But again, a lot of credit to the Titans defense. I simply didn't think they would show up. One of the worst defenses in the league through the first 3 weeks of the season. They didn't look that today. And I don't know necessarily if the Titans are just, they had a good game, or if the Colts offensive line is that bad. It's probably a little bit of both. Again, Colts they've got 4 days to figure this out. Otherwise, they could be 1-4-1 before their next opportunity to win a game.
Curtis, did you select the Colts to win this week as well?
No, I selected the Titans.
Okay, I was about to say I didn't know if I was the only one on that boat or not, but
no. Isaiah, you got anything about the Colts game?
I mean, I don't know that the Colts. I mean, not the Colts. I'm sorry. I don't know that the Titans lose a lot of games where Derrick Henry goes for over 100 yards. That was kind of a telling sign, like I had mentioned last week or in the preview. I mean, if Derrick Henry gets rolling, that's what matters. One thing too that Blake had mentioned that I do want to bring up as well is that he was complaining about the tight end room issue and throwing to the least athletic man on the planet, Jeff Swaim. Yeah. And he was talking about, Chigozua Okonkwo, and who actually got involved today, was 3 for 38 and a touchdown. So shout out to Blake for kind of predicting that there. And, but, it was a big one this week. The defensive line came in and handled business where they needed to. Matt Ryan is kind of at the point, like you said, he's playing really scared where he's looking around, he's more worried about looking to see if a defender's 5 feet away from him than if he has an open receiver down the field at this point. So if he feels any pressure whatsoever, he's got a hair trigger. He's either going to try and just get rid of it immediately, or he's going to hold on to it too long. But I mean, I'm happy that the Titans won. I really couldn't normally care less, but we stay on top of the division. That's really what I care about. But no, I mean, I think Derrick Henry kind of put in some work today in the first half, and that kind of solidified it, which, yes, like you mentioned, they scored 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, and they had a field goal and a touchdown in the second quarter, if I'm not mistaken, and they didn't score the rest of the night.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So let's go ahead and open the floor for your Jags. Go ahead and hit us up with the Jags react.
Dude, the literal definition of a flash in a pan today. Oh, there you are. You froze for a second there. Yeah. No, but I mean, literal definition of flash in a pan. I mean, we come out, pick six, first drive, 75-yard pick six, or however many yards it was. Come back out, stop them, get the ball back, go out there, drive down the field, another touchdown after a James Robinson fumble, which Kirk jumped on top of. Good awareness by him. 14-0 in the first quarter, in the first probably 8 minutes of the game or so. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch, but I kind of kept up with everything as I could. Just did not score anything else again until the fourth quarter. It's really disappointing. I know it was raining. The weather conditions were terrible. We stopped them later in the game, and then Tyson Campbell tripped on the field because of the terrible conditions, roughing the kicker, gives them the ball back in better position. They go down and they score again. The Jags defense has been number one in run stopping this year. They are now middle to bottom end of the pack after the Eagles ran for 210 yards today on us. They ran the ball, if I'm not mistaken, 50-plus times today. 27 of those alone came from Miles Sanders, 13 from the quarterback Jalen Hurts. Trey Sermon, who they picked up off the 49ers after they cut him, had 9.5 yards per carry. He had 2 rushes for, 19 yards? I mean, we just couldn't stop the run today. I mean, the field conditions were terrible, but, there's no excuse. Your middle linebacker, as much as you want him to get tackles, he shouldn't have 12 solos and 16 tackles combined in one game when the next person has 12. The next person behind him has maybe 8. I mean, defense just kind of fell apart today. We came out early and we were hitting them in the mouth, but we kind of had a little bit of the Eagles syndrome where we came out hard in the first half and they couldn't do anything the rest of the game. Eagles are a good team. I don't know that this exactly means they're the best team in the league. After those conditions, they ran the ball. We didn't adjust like we should have. We just kept trying to throw the ball. Our 2 running backs had 8 carries apiece, and Trevor Lawrence threw the ball 27 times 27 times, I believe. We just got to run it more. We can't keep throwing the ball whenever it's super dirty like that, super wet. We fumbled 4 times. It was it was a bad game. From offensively, defensively, we were just giving up too much and letting them kind of push us around. And we got good push on their D-line, but their D-line also hit home 4 times and sacked Trevor. So, there's a lot to look into. I think Jawan Taylor let up a sack, so he now has official pressures and stuff on the books. So that was kind of disappointing. But just, it was kind of like the week 1 game. It was a completely winnable game. We just kind of beat ourselves with the turnovers and the penalties and such. And hopefully we'll get it cleaned up next week. Hopefully it's not a typhoon out there and we can have a dry field to play on. But there's still a long way to go with this young Jacksonville team.
Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, and I haven't watched the entire game, but certainly watched the highlights, looked at box score, team stats. This is the type of game you wonder if you take that start from Jacksonville and you play it in solid weather, decent weather conditions, if they could have held on. We know Trevor Lawrence is starting to really come around and look good. But yeah, 4 sacks, that's gonna sting. It really comes down to what you said, Isaiah. I mean, in this type of weather game, you cannot rely on 23 passes when you only complete 11 of them. You can't be 50% for a game and only have 174 and then only turn around and do 71 on the ground. If you cannot win a game in the NFL, monsoon or not, when you only have 245 of total offense and your counterpart goes for over 200 yards on the ground, I mean, really, it just came down to second quarter on. Philadelphia just grounded and pounded, and they took care of business. Is what I've read into this game just by looking at again some of the highlights, looking at box scores. That it really takes it away. I'm not convinced either that Philadelphia is the best team in the league. 4 weeks in, the story says, hey, they've been the best team through 4 weeks record wise. I'm not convinced that they're necessarily going to run away to a Super Bowl, though. Yeah, they'd probably be my pick right now. It's funny, man. Cooper Rush down there in Dallas he's saying otherwise. Even though between all of us and anybody who watches, I never want the Cowboys to go to a Super Bowl. But like I said,
you're an anti-Cowboys channel.
Absolutely. Hats off to Philly though, that they did what they need to do. Miles Sanders had a beast of a game,
career day.
And they took care of business from the second quarter on. They overcome a bad start, and but Jacksonville's going to learn a lot from this game. I mean, it's a good team. It's a good young team. They're in the front of the division. I don't necessarily know that this is still any more than an 8 to 9 win team, but that just might get it done in the South this year. So those are just my quick little thoughts with this game.
So I was looking at the box score. So Jalen Hurts didn't really have a great game through the air. I mean, he had a better completion percentage and 205 yards, but he also had an interception, no touchdown. On the ground, 16 rushes for him, 38 yards, and a touchdown. Now, considering how Jalen Hurts has not quite Lamar Jackson speed, but like a fast dude, that's pretty good on bottling him up, and for any defense, honestly. I think there are definitely some things that could be just slightly worked on, just looking at the stat line, that would probably, like, if you flip the script on some of these things, it looks like there was let me pull it back up. Oh god.
Speaking of that, I will say real quick while you're pulling that up, with the whole Jalen Hurts thing, I think we were over committed to stopping Jalen Hurts on the ground, so that we let kind of Miles Sanders and them slip through the cracks, and they did play fakes where it looks like they're going for a play action or something. I think we were too committed to going after Hurts, and that's why we had a good day against him, but kind of let everybody else do what they wanted to, because we were just trying to keep him contained, which is what scares me later in the year versus the Ravens.
Yeah, and I'll add just kind of spitballing here as well. What was Doug Peterson thinking, allowing Trevor Lawrence to kind of be back there in the pocket making passes and finishing with a 12.9 QBR? I mean, Isaiah, I'm sure you probably didn't watch this game start to finish, but what is that about?
It was just like week one where we just didn't run it enough. We were doing good on the ground, and it just didn't happen. I don't know. I mean, a big thing too is being down after that, and then time of possession was just atrocious because we kept throwing the ball, incompletions, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. I mean, I don't know, man. I'll be honest with you. Doug Peterson's hard-headed. He's going to do what he wants to do, and it looked like no adjustments made. So I mean, it's either going to hurt us or it's going to help us. And this is 2 weeks now, week 1 and week 4, that it's hurt us. But again, he's also been out of it for a year. He's kind of stuck in his ways. I think as he goes on, he'll kind of adjust it more. But I really couldn't tell you.
Unfortunately, hate to break this news to you, but him and Frank Reich used to work together, and you see what's happening with Frank over here in the Midwest.
Don't drag him down into that circle, all right? Come on.
Gotta make myself.
Not yet. Give him the full season, then we'll talk.
Right.
I think if you clean up some of these turnovers, I'm looking at it, and it's
5 turnovers,
4 fumbles, 1 interception.
Yep.
This is just kind of stuff that's going to happen in a weather game like that. But
mm-hmm.
This is also kind of the marquee thing of a younger team. They're going to put the ball on the ground. They're going to try to be a little bit more aggressive or, whatever with their play calling for multiple reasons, but mostly to see if these young guys are like if it's money well spent in some of these situations. But yeah, I think the Jaguars have the coaching to actually kind of clean that up with time. So I think eventually we'll actually be seeing a very continually turnover differential healthy Jaguars team. But you guys got anything else for the Jags?
We're still positive on turnover differential even after that terrible game.
That's true. You guys were number 1 in the league at like +7. So
yep.
Now you're like +2. Anyway, so let's move on to the Texans game versus the Chargers. And usually Houston's defense is like, hey, you're not going to score a lot of points in any quarter except for the fourth quarter. Today, the first time that has not been the case. They put up 27 points in the first half to the Houston Texans 7. I'm sorry. So it was 27-7 at halftime. Houston actually had probably the best rushing game as a team that they've had since the last time they played the Chargers last season. And Rex Burkhead went for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Dameon Pierce got loose, 14 carries, 131 yards, a long of 75, and a touchdown. He also added 6 receptions. Didn't get much on the yak, but the yak. Yeah. So one that just says that Pierce is the guy. Pierce has been able to handle an increased workload every single week, and he's been able to make bigger plays as the season has progressed so far. I just don't want to see Rex Burkhead on the field ever again. We need to find another running back real bad. Rex Burkhead's out here looking like everybody's cousin, just like, they pick me up. I'm here to play. My name's Rex. Bad. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Beyond that, the entire second half, the Chargers only scored 7 points. And that was in the waning moments of the fourth quarter to really put the game away, as Houston had rallied and even caused a couple turnovers here and there to get themselves in a position to even take the lead midway through the fourth quarter. Davis Mills had moments where he actually looked like the guy they were hoping he was going to be. He hit a 58-yard bomb to Nico Collins. He followed that play up with an 18-yard pass touchdown to Brandon Cooks. First touchdown to a wide receiver for the Texans this season. I didn't even realize that. It's just been all tight ends and running backs. So Cooks finally gets in the end zone. And you don't have Bosa on the field for the Chargers, and they're still getting all this damn pressure. Like, Khalil Mack was living in the backfield. He was literally just eating everyone's lunch, taking their lunch money, and then banging their mom, like, right in front of them. And it was just... Zach Wilson would have been proud. But...
Shout out Zach Wilson.
Shouts to Zach Wilson's Cougar. Anyway. Yeah, the first half, I was like, oh, shit. We're about to get boat raced. They're about to put up 40. I hit up Jake Osman of the ESPN area Houston radio station. I was like, dude, we're looking like dog shit right now. If it wasn't for Dameon Pierce's 75-yard touchdown run, we wouldn't have had any points going into halftime. At one point, Kaimi Fairbairn kicked a field goal from like 47 yards away. And I've never seen somebody shank a field goal so aggressively. I swear to you, it looked like he wasn't even trying to hit the field goal. You can't convince me otherwise. But I wouldn't necessarily say that this was a game where Davis Mills shined. I think this was one of those flash games where it's like, hey, I can do this. Just not all the time. So, I don't know. I hope that he can in the future. But with that, I'll open it up. Anybody?
I mean, you're right on. Dameon Pierce had a solid day, and it's not as if that 75-yard run came in garbage time. No, this is to get his team going, get his team on the board. It's like we talked, Curtis, earlier this week. We thought this was an opportunity where the Texans could surprise one of those teams, or it was a team, and they will. They're going to win some games they shouldn't. I mean, let's be honest, there aren't very many games they're going to win as it is, but this is the Chargers were one of those teams they could have beat, and they had an opportunity. The Chargers didn't really play all that well in the second half, and Houston made plays that they needed to get themselves back into the game. 27-24, and then 2.5 minutes to go, they put the game away. The Chargers do, and that really ends it. But Dameon Pierce needs to be the workhorse in the backfield for the Texans. Davis Mills, despite having a low QBR today, he's making completions. I mean, 26 to 35. That's pretty solid. There can be adjustments made, and things will get better for him as he moves along through the season, and as he gets more help. You all know he just simply at this point he doesn't have much. Brandon Cooks and Pierce, that's about it. If you really truly think about it. So
you're right.
yeah. So I mean, Herbert basically did what he needed to do to win the game in the first half, and then put it away late. But Chargers definitely have a lot of work to do if they're going to live up to the preseason expectations that the national media had for this team. Houston just, again, it's just going to be a long season, but there are good things that are coming from the deep south from these guys, and unfortunately they're going to find their way to another high pick. But you keep stockpiling those high draft picks, after a while it's going to start to pay off, just like it is in Duval County.
Yep. Isaiah?
I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and call it here. Dameon Pierce is going to be the next great Florida product, next great Texans running back. I think he will. I mean, he's really good. Even at Florida coming out, I wanted to pick him to Jacksonville. I wanted him to be our pick, to be our number 3/number 2 back, depending on the type of game we were playing, the type of stuff. I mean, he's really good. I think Mills continues to show why, he's either going to be the guy, or as many people expect, he's the bridge quarterback. He's not the starter, and a lot of that isn't his fault. I mean, they haven't really done much to get him guys around him. I mean, even like the running back situation, like Pierce is great. There's no number 2. There's no change of pace back. There's no guy running the 4.5, sub 4.5. I mean, it's hard to win a game when you don't have somebody you can throw it to out of the backfield more than, behind the line of scrimmage or 5 yards down the field. Pierce can be that guy. His speed is a little bit different. I mean, like I said a couple weeks ago, I mean, Pierce is one of those guys, like, people forget at Florida. I mean, he had big runs. He could get going. I think if they can rally behind him, I mean, if they're just following the trend of the AFC South, we all run the ball really well, then we have quarterbacks who can, not win the game, but not lose the game for you. But really, it's just that offensive line is bad, dude. Is it Kenyon Green? Is that the left guard?
Yeah.
He's good. I like him. He's young too. So, I mean, for like some small problems he has every once in a while, I mean, he's really good and he's young. He's a big dude. I mean, once you guys get that line figured out, not only is Davis Mills going to have a good career behind that, Dameon Pierce is going to have a great career behind that. I mean, Dameon Pierce is going to be the next great running back out of Florida. I mean, depending on how the season goes, you guys might draft a quarterback early next year. But I mean, just based on the play so far, I think, Mills is going to have to get some help around him, but once he does, he'll show us if he is the starter or if he is the bridge. Because if he gets that help, and we still have games like this where, yeah, he gave you 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 picks. I mean, you got to kind of look at that and see, but I don't know. I think the Texans will be fine. They're always playing better than what they look. I just think right now with that game specifically, they show they can hang around with good teams. Because, I mean, a late touchdown to give them that, 10 point, was it 10 points? 34 to, yeah.
34 points.
Yeah. I mean, it was a 3-point game until right at the end there. I mean, that shows the Texans can hang around. Their defense was getting some pressure. They were getting stops, obviously. I mean, first half, not so much, but second half, they held them pretty low. So, I mean, I think you guys don't have too much to worry about on the defensive side. You just continue to build that as you have been, but offensive line just continue, and receiving core just continues to be a problem for you guys.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Texans need some weapons, but that's not something they're going to find in season unless they make a trade or something. And I don't think that Caserio at this particular time views what the Texans have on the field as like, we're 1-2 pieces away. So maybe if we make a couple moves, something will happen. I mean, shit, our best defensive end right now is 34 years old. So it would be nice in a perfect world if he comes back for a few more years, but he may not, retiring at 35 is about normal for a defensive end if they've been really productive. And Jerry Hughes has had a career resurgence. This is his hometown. This might be his swan song. Then you got Grenard, who's from Florida. He's had a quiet season. Everyone was looking for him to have a breakout. But, I mean, the offense, it's Kenyon Green and it's Laramie Tunsil. And both of them had huge drive-killing holding calls. I think at one point, one after another. Like it was Kenyon Green and then Laramie Tunsil on the next play. And just really dug us into holes early in the first half. But I don't know that there's, that many linemen that you can just go out there and trade for and be like, all right, we just upgraded the center position. He's going to plug and play and know the playbook. It's just not going to happen. Scott Quesenberry is probably the best center we've had in 3 years, and that's not saying much. I mean, Nick Martin was our center for it's probably been 8 years. Oh, that hurts. And then AJ Can. Good God. That guy.
Hate him. Can't stand him. Get him out of here.
It's actually kind of funny. I watched the Texans videos that the team puts out that, they cover their own team, whatever. And there's always some sort of stat that they'll pull out for him. For AJ Can to justify his signing. It's like, man, between the days of if it's August, then he's good. He's really good on run plays where the running back is spread out to the left and comes back to the right, and the running back, trips and falls and gets back up. He's the best right guard in the game. Just like, guys, can we just say that he sucks? Just say that he's terrible.
Get you that Texans AJ Can Kool-Aid. Nobody's drinking it,
Negative amounts of Kool-Aid drinkage. They're
sounds like the Indianapolis media with this team and their love affair of the Colts.
I'm saying, it's like, I get that they're trying to pump it up, make everybody hype about additions and whatnot, and how players are faring worth their money, but I feel like you got to be realistic. So I mean, I don't think there's anything they can do in season. In the off season, they definitely will have hella cap space. They will have hella draft picks.
About to say, they might have hella first draft pick at this point.
I mean, probably at this point.
Because the Raiders won, so they're
officially all alone at the bottom of the NFL. It's a sad day. But I think I can't remember who we playing. Oh, we play Jacksonville next.
Fuck. You guys are gonna find a way to win that fucking game.
It's in Duval, so
If you guys beat us one time, just please don't let it be at home. I don't care if y'all beat us in Texas, because we all have given us problem for years, even when we've been better than you guys. Like, just let us win the one in let us win the one in Florida. You can take the one in Duval or Houston. Jeez. Anyways,
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I still think the consensus is that the Jags are the best team in the South. So, I mean, if Houston doesn't come in there with some sort of like grade A preparation, or like they know exactly what keeps Trevor Lawrence up at night, I don't know that there's anything that's really going to be like happening in that game.
Speaking of one-off statistics, where they try to like make things sound worse or better than they are. You remember what happened last time that the Jaguars got beat by an NFC East team because of their own mistakes, and then played a division rival the game after at home? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's shutout season, baby.
Hey, with the way the offense is played, I don't doubt it. The only thing that would Dameon Pierce is like it. So if the run game stopped, I have no hope in the Texans offense.
Well, that's the problem is Jacksonville has a solid run defense, and Dameon Pierce is going to have to fight for every yard the entire day.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, I don't see any path for Houston to win next week, but that's why they play the games, as you know.
Mm-hmm. And then as we look forward, so Indy's playing Denver on Thursday Night Football, 4 days rest. It's gonna be a sketchy one. It's gonna be sketchy. The Denver Broncos have a pretty good defense. They kind of got throttled a little bit today. Allowed 33 by the Las Vegas Raiders. Almost called them the Los Oakland. That would have been just way off. But the Raiders have a really solid offense, and they were able to exploit some of the deficiencies on the Broncos defense. So they're actually quite prone in certain areas if you know how to put the right pressure on the right things, I guess is what I'm looking to say here. But their offense does not look good. So right now, I actually think the Colts have a pretty solid chance of beating them.
It really comes down to I say this jokingly, but it's a race to 17 points. The Colts have really not been able to do much other than that. They did put up 20 against the Chiefs, but beyond that, they haven't scored anything close to what most people would consider a high-scoring game this entire season. Really, at this point, in all truthfulness, it just comes down to a matter of, can the O-line give Matt Ryan time? Can Matt Ryan hold on to the football? And will Jonathan Taylor actually play on Thursday night? They believe it's a high ankle sprain. If he's not out there and you go one-dimensional, or you have to rely on Nyheim Hines the entire game, could be a very long night in the Mile High City.
Yeah, I agree. But I think the defense matches up pretty well against what Russell Wilson brings to the table. Be an interesting game, to say the least.
Yeah, I agree.
So is there the Bills? Oh, sorry.
No, you were saying?
I was going to say the Bills are now 1-12 in their last 13 one-score games. They won their first game that was within one score since 2020.
Damn.
They can blow teams out. They can beat them by 2 scores. Anytime it's been a one-score game, they've lost the last 12, and they just won their first one today against the Ravens.
Shouts to the Bills.
And my friend was on the flag team for the Bucs game today. I didn't know, but he just sent me some pictures and videos. Said he was like 5 feet from Mahomes and Kelsey while they were warming up, and he wanted to get a picture, but he was on duty, so he had to keep running to go get the flag. So he's at the Bucs game right now, and he held the flag before the game, so that's really cool.
Talk about calling back your one-off stat there that could mean nothing. There's a team that has a streak of losing to a division opponent and then playing an AFC West opponent and beating them in the Colts. So they lost to the Jags, then beat the Chiefs, lost to the Titans. Now they play the Broncos on Thursday night.
Let's keep it rolling.
Hey, fuck, excuse my language. Screw the AFC West, if we're being honest. Best division in football, my ass. Here comes the South.
I think everybody talking about them being the best division in football has just put such a huge target on their back. Everybody has to have like a prove it game. It's like, oh, you're the best there is to beat. Let's fucking do it. Excuse my language.
Well, and actually, getting away from the AFC South in just a moment. I mean, is it fair to say that the AFC as a whole has underperformed in the first 4 weeks of the season? We're talking Miami's 3-1, Buffalo's 3-1, Kansas City, if they can hold on here tonight, they would be 3-1. The rest of the AFC, and maybe it's because they're beating up on each other, but the rest of the AFC all has 2 losses or more, whereas the NFC, I believe it's 7 teams with 0 or 1 loss. Maybe, again, it could just be because it's a weaker conference, but the AFC really just hasn't been very strong. We all thought all 4 teams in the AFC West would be good. Raiders just got their first win today. Not good. Denver's got problems. Not very good. Chargers struggling earlier this year. They pick up their second win today against, sorry, Curtis, a winless Houston Texans team. Kansas City came out and looked flat last week against a Colts team that's their only win of the season. So I guess my question again, is the AFC underperforming as a whole?
Yes, without question. Just think about this from a Titans and Colts perspective. The Colts were on the doorstep of making the playoffs. The Titans were the 1 seed in the playoffs last season, and they're both starting off the season well under the expectation. On the flip side there, I think this is about where everybody thought the Texans would be, and then the Jags are a pleasant surprise. The Jags are a pleasant surprise because I don't think anybody really, like, if you held a gun to a random person's head and you were like, who's going to be leading the division after 4 weeks, I don't think anybody's going to be like, it's the Jaguars. But I mean, totally underperforming, at least from the 2 top dogs that we had pegged preseason. I mean, again, this is about expected for Houston. But you, Isaiah, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely would say the AFC's underperformed, especially considering we're typically considered and regarded as like the better conference. I mean, it's tough when you have 2 teams like you mentioned, the Colts and the Titans, who are just underperforming this year. I mean, it doesn't help that in the first 4 weeks we've had 3 division games. It just seems like the AFC is playing a lot of AFC teams early. I mean, the Jets have been a pleasant surprise. They won again today, didn't they? They beat Cleveland and they beat the Steelers. That's they played today, right? Yeah, Steelers. I mean, that conference has looked better than expected as well. But I mean, like, still just one conference doing better than expected, but the rest of us all kind of, gasping for air and fighting each other. And I mean, Jacksonville's been a pleasant surprise, but we're 2-2. The only reason that we're number 1 in the conference is because the Titans, are the Titans, division? Do they have 2 wins now?
Yeah, they're also 2-2.
So we're tied for then we're tied for the division now at number 1. It's tough, no one expected that. I mean, like you said, if you'd have held a gun to their head, they probably would have said Colts or Titans, and they'd have laughed at you and told you to pull the trigger if you'd have said the Jaguars. And so, I mean, it's tough, but we're here. I think as the season pans out, we'll see really which way it goes. I think the AFC West I think they're overrated, but also, I mean, the AFC West, Patrick Mahomes lost the probably biggest weapon in football the past couple of years. So, I mean, just adjusting to all that, and somehow the Raiders got the best wide receiver, like pure wide receiver in football, and can't do anything with it. But I don't know. I just think that, early in the season, there's been a lot of division games for the AFC. So I think it's just kind of hard to, put them in the category of being up there when they're playing in their division, 3 or 4 games in the first week each division. I mean, the first couple weeks is crazy, but
yeah,
we'll see as the year goes on.
Well, I think we're nearing the end here, gentlemen. So if you have any final comments or anything you just generally like to say to anybody who's watching, what's up, subs?
I mean, fantasy team's going to go 4-0 after this week. And I didn't even
Hell.
draft the team. So let's go.
Auto draft king.
Oh, man. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for watching. This has been episode 61 of this AFC South show. Isaiah, Aaron, thank you for coming on and joining me. And we'll have another pod coming out Thursday for a preview. So everybody be good people.